Hello, people. Welcome to Quibbles Over Coffee.
Woo!
Let's get it. All right. Today we have another secretary, cabinet member.
Cabinet member,
Right.
an
They're not all
ambassador in this case.
secretaries. Yeah.
Not all secretaries, an ambassador in this case. All right, should we just get straight to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right.
So,
Who is Linda Thomas Greenfield?
I was just reading this article.
Were you really? That's so exciting.
It was very
We
exciting.
think the same. Okay, so basically, she has had a really long time in the foreign service. 35 years, right? She's not
Yeah.
she's not young and she's not new to this. Most of that has been in developing countries. So yes, it's true,
Yeah.
she's been in Switzerland, but for the most part she's been in developing countries. And so there's been a lot of talk about sort of her policy. There was one point a few months back, it may have even been a little bit further than that actually. She's been talking about gumbo policy, gumbo diplomacy rather. So she became sort of famous when she was talking about the era of gunboat diplomacy being out and the era of gumbo diplomacy being in, which I support. Right,
Sure.
I think that like, you know, the idea of us, right, being able to, like, you know, have our policy be done, our diplomacy being done over dinner. The idea of diplomacy being done in a way that is, you know, not going to result in people fucking dying, is definitely better than a diplomacy that it requires people to fucking die.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, and I think, and frankly, she's done a really, you know, bang up job. She was, you know, the one I'm most impressed in is you know, she was charged with Liberia. For those who don't know any of the Liberian history, basically the history of Liberia is America done gun fucked up, and then we fucked. So for context, like, Liberia was founded because I don't want to get into the totality of Liberia. The point is that she's had a bunch of very difficult jobs, and a bunch of very difficult countries. And another example, I believe it was Rwanda. Yeah. You know, she has not exactly had an easy career, and yet she's been able to do it pretty well. So for the most part, I like her.
Okay.
However, I have a concern.
Oh no.
This is my concern. My
Albright
concern,
Stonebridge Group.
yeah, my concern is she is low key, high key, the sort of heir apparent to Madeleine Albright. And for those who don't know who Madeleine Albright is, whoo boy, you're in for a treat. She is a terrifying lady, an absolutely terrifying lady. She is, you know, been very, 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 very complicated history overseas. Some of them good, some of them bad. And then she's, you know, in recent years also been in support of Herbalife and a bunch of like multi-level marketing schemes, which is kind of bullshit. But she's a really complicated woman, and she has a much more complicated and sort of checkered past than does Linda Thomas Greenfield. And so it does concern me that Albright is such a fan of Greenfield. She made Greenfield you know, she's sort of very high up in Albright's Stone Group, and that concerns me. That but those are basically my views. You had another article to share. What was your article?
Oh yeah. So I found an article about her. She had a speech a while back. I'm screen sharing right now. She basically had some. She went to a all black school and spoke at a talk basically that was partially funded by like a Chinese organization, I believe. And so GOP was like, hey, what are you doing talking about China, talking with China people? And yeah, and so she was like, in her confirmation hearing last Wednesday, she was saying that it wasn't really that she was like doing that, but that she was wanted to go to this all black school and encourage black and brown people across the country to get into foreign service. And that's something like that's an option for them, and that's something that they can and should do. and she had a past with Savannah State. I think it was Savannah State University. And that the school paid her and not this section of the school, so there shouldn't really be an issue. And like, great. And I think like there's a picture of Ted Cruz. He was like against it. He was like
ugly.
right,
Yes.
right. Like this beard is so disgusting. Like
it's not even just the beard. It's the chin that it's
right.
hiding.
That too. Like he's just like this is a terrible picture.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was like, "What are you doing talking about these commies? The speech is cheerleading for the Chinese Communist Party," Senator Ted Cruz, our Texas, said during the hearing. And it's like, right, like these people are saying this. That's why they're arguing against her. And the Democrats are just like, well, she's black and she's a woman, so she should get this role. And I'm like, honey, she's like, they're like saying like she's advocating for communism. Like, can we talk about her policy and like how she, like what she does, instead of being like, oh, yeah, she's black, you know? Like Cory Booker, like, come on, guys, come on.
Well, okay, so in Booker's defense, which I normally don't do because I don't like Booker all that much. But in Booker's defense, like it is true that she is talking to a black institution, and she's talking to a black institution specifically about black students becoming more involved in foreign policy. And it's also true that our foreign policy establishment is disproportionately white and disproportionately Asian, comparative to the percentage, and also disproportionately Jewish. Let's keep it real. In terms of the percentage of people who are involved and the percentage of people who are high up in those places, comparative to the overall number of people in this country. So I understand like why he's focusing on specifically her blackness when she herself was talking in the context of her blackness to black students.
Right. But that's not what the issue the Republicans are having with her.
Yeah, that's not what Ted Cruz is arguing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
to clarify, she is in fact not a communist.
Right. Yeah. To clarify, we're just But anyway, I just thought that was a little weird, but
for sure. I think that it's sort of a complicated. It's a mixed bag because I mean Ted Cruz is going to call literally anyone a communist.
That's
right?
true.
He's called Biden a communist before, right? Which, to clarify, no, not even a little bit, right?
No. Not even remotely.
So there is a sense in which like, does it really matter that Ted Cruz is going to call you like a communist? Sure. But also, it's also true that you're right. Like you have to respond to that in kind. You have to explain like, no, here are my policies. When people call you like, you know, make veiled racist attacks on you, you have to talk about race.
Right.
But when people make veiled like they're part of the Soviet Union attacks on you, you have to explain how you're not part of the Soviet Union.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, we should do that. We should start doing that.
Yeah.
If people are calling you communist, you have to explain to them why you're not a communist.
For sure. I do think that she gets she is a bright spot. She makes me a little happy. Not a lot of happy, because again, this Madeleine Albright stuff is freaking me out a little bit. But she makes me a little happy. She makes me happy because I think that she represents a possible future for our international affairs. Again, because she's been in Rwanda, because she's been in Liberia, specifically in the context of Africa, she makes me happy because I think that she has the potential to try better than we have in the past, to have diplomacy first and have military actually be a final, last resort thing, which quite frankly in the Middle East, it is a first resort thing.
Sure.
And that's very scary. And I'm worried that is going to increasingly become the case as Africa is more and more important to our international standing, that as we transition away from intervention and involvement in the Middle East and into, I shouldn't say away from Middle East, because we're certainly still going to be involved in the Middle East in 20 years. But I think we're going to be comparatively more involved in Africa in 20 years than we are now. And I think that if she is able to successfully wield her influence from the UN, and wield her sort of more nonviolent capacity, I think that's going to put us in a much better place. Um, and I also think that Biden takes her seriously, which is important. I mean, like the truth is that any and all of these people, if they don't have the backing of the president, are very weak.
Sure.
And I think that she is likely to get that backing from the president that she's looking for,
Yeah.
in a way that some of these others might not. I think she's unlikely to be replaced quite as quickly as some of these others, who I think, quite frankly, are more
Yeah.
easily.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't he make this a cabinet position like for her? I
Yeah,
think
I think there are
read
a lot
that.
of reasons to believe that he's going to take the UN a lot more seriously. I mean, obviously he's going to take the UN more seriously than Trump, but I think there's a reason to believe that he's going to take the UN perhaps even more seriously than Obama did, which I think is a very good thing, for the future of our
Sure.
country.
Yeah. I think we
So yeah,
have to repair the relations.
yeah. So I mean, I gave
Yeah.
Janet Yellen partial credit. I the Albright thing is a concern, but I give her I give if I'm going to rate her, I'm going to give her a 90%.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
it is good. It is good.
That's good.
90%. 90% is like, it's 10% bad, but it's 90% not
90% good.
bad.
Yeah.
It's 90% not bad. And
We take the
90%
not
not
bad where
bad,
we can
it's not
get
bad.
them.
We take the not bad where we can get them.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we tell everyone to like and subscribe and to follow us on TikTok?
I don't think so. I think that's it. Like and subscribe
Okay.
to our YouTube. I remember this
To our
time.
YouTube, you're right. The
And
last episode, Houston told everyone to like and follow and whatever, then share on every single thing that we have except for YouTube.
right.
And Houston, you defile the
Yeah.
agenda. You defile the agenda, but we love you.
All right. We love you. And we'll see you on our next episode.
Parasocially.
Right. Adios.
We love